Hey there, friends! If you're enjoying these stories, don't forget to follow the channel so you won't miss this or any of our future videos. We'd really appreciate your support. So, hit subscribe, give us a like, and let us know what you think in the comments. Cleopatra VII, Queen of the Nile. In the cradle of civilization, a girl was born whose name would never be forgotten. Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt. At the crossroads of cultures, Cleopatra sharpened her mind like a blade. She had a gift for languages. She learned not only Egyptian, the tongue of her people, but also Aramaic, Hebrew, Arabic, Persian, and even Ethiopian. When Ptolemy died in 51 BC, his eldest daughter Cleopatra took the throne. But the crown wasn't hers alone. Two siblings, one throne. Alexandria stood on the edge of civil war. Even in his final days, her father saw the spark of power in her eyes, the end of a king, the dawn of a legend. With Pompey's death came Caesar, not just a general but the new master of Egypt. Cleopatra came to him in secret, hidden beneath shock and wonder. Her brother turned traitor, but Cleopatra and Caesar fought back for control as knowledge itself burned. The boy king drowned beneath the Nile, swept away by the rains. From rivals to allies, the serpent and the eagle united in power. Caesar returned to rule Rome. Cleopatra stayed, keeping the heart of Egypt alive. From their forbidden union came a son, both a promise and a threat. As love blossomed in Alexandria, the streets of Rome darkened with betrayal. Blood on marble. Caesar was dead. Dreams died with him. The Queen's world trembled in silence. Rome gave birth to a new ruler, a warrior with wild eyes. Destiny whispered through silk sheets, ink and wine. Octavian would not share power. Under the banner of the Republic he prepared his final strike. He no longer bowed to the Nile. He swore he'd drain it dry if he had to. As storm clouds gathered over the east, Mark Antony held war councils in Antioch. War with Parthia loomed. From the Nile to the Euphrates, Cleopatra rallied her forces. Egyptian soldiers, archers, chariots, Nubian allies, all under the banner of Isis. Eastern winds carried Roman and Egyptian legions into Parthian lands, chasing jewels of the unknown. Antony returned defeated. But in Alexandria he rose again, crowning Cleopatra as Queen of Kings and declaring their children heirs to the eastern lands of Rome. To Octavian, this was betrayal. The donations of Alexandria weren't just gifts, they were a threat to Rome's unity, a claim to its heart. Cleopatra gave Antony treasures beyond gold-lost scrolls of wisdom, statues of Atlantis, perfumes of Nubia. But her truest gift was her gaze. To bind him forever, she performed sacred rites, burning the last letters from Rome, severing Antony from his old world. Together they hunted lions in the eastern desert, not for sport but for power, legacy and myth. In the temple of Ammon at Siwa, a blind oracle spoke. The queen's power will shake the world, but doom will follow the second son. Soon after, a sealed scroll arrived, stamped with the black eagle of Rome. Octavian declared Antony a traitor. War was no longer rumour, it was written. For Rome, Cleopatra wasn't a queen, she was a threat. Octavian, cold and calculating, seized his moment. Beneath Alexandria's golden halls, Cleopatra and Antony gathered their closest allies. War was no longer whispers, it was certain. Driven by glory and Cleopatra's vision, Antony marched east once more, while Cleopatra bore his children, the heirs of a new Hellenistic empire. In a grand display, they declared their children rulers of faraway lands. To Rome this was treason. Friends abandoned Antony, and Rome itself split apart. On the shores of Actium, Cleopatra's fleet waited. Hundreds of ships decorated with symbols of Isis and empire. Empires collided on the sea. Antony and Cleopatra faced Octavian in a battle that would end one world and begin another. Defeat. Antony was wounded. Cleopatra retreated. The dream of empire drowned beneath the waves. Antony, broken and deceived, limped back to Alexandria's ruins. Pride clashed with despair as he considered his final move. Cleopatra withdrew to her mausoleum, fortified as both sanctuary and tomb. She prepared for the end, yet clung to sovereignty. When Antony heard she was dead, grief consumed him. Lost and broken, he chose his fate with trembling hands, but he lived just long enough to be carried to Cleopatra. Bleeding and shattered, they shared one last look, two lovers fading between gods and empires. Octavian marched into Alexandria, standing before the mausoleum as a conqueror of gods. He offered mercy, not honor, but when he entered, he found no captive, only a queen who chose her own destiny. With Antony gone and the tomb surrounded, Cleopatra weighed her choices. Life as a trophy, or death as a legend. Egypt's fate was hers alone to shape. She refused to bow. She reclaimed her story. In death she preserved her sovereignty, stronger in legend than in chains. Cleopatra's body was taken, her treasures seized, but the throne stood empty, an unbroken symbol of defiance. Empires crumble, statues fall, but Cleopatra remains etched forever in the memory of gods and mortals alike. The last child of Caesar became a whisper in Rome's halls. Scrolls decayed, voices of centuries burned into silence. Alexandria wept. They buried their queen, but her legend rose to the stars. She ruled from the Nile, but she lives on in the veins of poets, dreamers, and revolutionaries. Cleopatra, eternal. Well, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe, like, and comment below. Don't forget to follow the channel and catch our future videos.